Hello everyone, and welcome to Summer 2011 Carbon Contest Results and Awards presentation. Thank you all for coming. It's really great to see so many people that are enthusiastic about carbon reduction and what we're doing at Cranfield as a whole. Contest outcomes have been really pleasing this time, and we really need to show what we're doing as a campus and also reward everyone for their achievements, and particularly highlight key achievements on the campus. So to start with today, we're going to have Gareth Ellis and Andrew Smith from Zap Carbon providing analysis of the contest. But before we do this, I'm really happy to introduce William Stevens, the university's secretary and registrar, who will present the awards. Thank you, William.
It's really, really important that we do try and cut our carbon. And one of the most important reasons for doing that, of course, is not just to save the planet, but also to cut the cost of utilities. Now, they keep on going up, don't they? I've just had an increase in my home bill of about 20%, and no doubt we'll get the same across the university. I think that we're making a fantastic progress in terms of achieving our carbon management plan, and the reason we're doing that is actually down to people like you. So there's certificates to give out to the champions, and I'll be very happy to do that. And we'll hear a little bit more about what's going on with the carbon management plan from Gareth thereafter.
Okay. We've got Derek Smith, Joe Cattrall and Christine Major.
Hi Derek.
Thanks very much.
Congratulations.
That's lovely. Cheers.
Thank you.
Christine, congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, and Joe. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. We've got Mike Devonshire, Claire Pratt and Chris Shaw.
Claire, congratulations. Oh, there we are, Chris.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
And Mike, by a process of elimination.
Always works, doesn't it?
We've got Mikhail Tapia, Ian Haycon and Alicia Kowaleska.
Mikael. There we are. Congratulations. Oh, there we are. Alicia. Congratulations. Very well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Adrian Montford, Sandra Landhal and Seamus Higson.
Is that in the right order?
You.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Nice to meet you. Hi, Seamus. Oh, you got a hand.
Got Maxine Gore, Jane Brazier and Maria Kalea.
Hi, Maxine.
Thank you very much.
There we are.
Thank you.
Jane. Oh, Maria, sorry.
Thank you.
I'm Jane. But
Thank you.
And finally, Martin Davey, Jane Roberts and Joe Carter.
right. Oh, there we are. There we are. Joe, let's get you the right one. Thank you. Jane.
Jane. Thank you very much.
Hello, Martin. Thank you very much. There we are. Okay. Thank you very much indeed to all those champions. It's really good, the number of pledges and things that we've been getting and the progress that we're making. So what you're all down here for, of course, is to see who's won. So first of all, we've got the weekend savings. And in third place in the weekend saving is Building 83. So Mike, come up and get your certificate. And a solar torch which won't work too well today, but tomorrow it's going to be sunny.
Thank you very much, you guys. Thank you.
In second place was the Paste Lab, Sarah Jones. Congratulations, Sarah. Here you are, and don't forget your solar torch, yes. And the winner for the weekend saving is Building 39, Christine Kimpton. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, Christine.
And overall, we're going to do the same again. Third place, Building 38, Lisa Hall.
And Maxine is accepting it.
Maxine, you're collecting on behalf of Lisa.
Thank you.
That's where we are here, isn't it?
It is.
Second place, Building 95/96, Steve Watson. Congratulations.
Estates team.
Well done. And in first place, Building 54, which is the Hudson building, the grey one right at the top end. So Kerry Levine. Congratulations, Kerry. Well done. And you get the shield.
Wow.
Do you get a torch as well? I think you should get a torch as well. And a torch, they are.
Thank you.
Lovely. Well, my congratulations to all those winners, and indeed to everybody for the great efforts over the last several weeks. What I'd like to do now is just go through, like I have been in all the other workshops. I like data, so I just wanted to go through some of the examples and case studies and explain, particularly for the weekend energy users, how they actually won. So we'll just go through a little bit of data. It won't be very long, but start off really a bit of background. Why the weekend? Why did we pick the weekend? Really because we can save energy, but if there's one single biggest opportunity, it's at the weekends. If you look at the campus's electricity consumption, you've got 60 hours from Friday night when we're not here to Monday morning when it all starts again. And if you can switch stuff off, that obviously is the single biggest saving you can make. We decided in the contest to literally set a baseline weekend and then week on week just see how much one could save. It's also a bit of fun to get things going, something to do on a Friday afternoon. I'm not suggesting people aren't doing anything on a Friday afternoon, but it gives a focus to it. It's something in the diary to do. So we took this baseline weekend, and you wouldn't believe how much energy got used over that Saturday and Sunday. The figure is 32,900 kilowatt hours, which in any way you measure it is a lot. To put it into context, the average house, the house that we all live in, would typically use about 1/10 of that for a whole year. So it's enough to power, we worked it out, 9 houses for a whole year, was used by Cranfield on the 2nd and 3rd of July. So that is an idea of the baseline. The cost to the university over that period, over that 2-day period, was about £5,000. The carbon emissions, it's about 18,000 kilos of CO2 went up in the air because of stuff that was on. Obviously some of it necessarily on, but not necessarily all has to be on over that period. So in one weekend of the 2nd and 3rd of July, we took this as our baseline and then saw what one could actually improve, how you could improve on it. And we ran this, as those were at the workshops will remember, on a weekly basis. On week 1, building 39, Christine, she started as she meant to go on, saving 153 kilowatt hours. That is, just to put it in context, will run an average house for a fortnight. We also, during that weekend, talking of aircon, Mike Devonshire from Building 52 and Building 83 looked at running a pilot of aircon switch off, and so on that Friday evening went round switching what he could see off. The result of that was both those buildings saved exactly the same amount actually, 87 kilowatt hours each. Again, a substantial amount. Pace Lab saved 114 kilowatt hours. And I think Sarah told me that was switching a compressor off. Is that right, Sarah? The Vice-Chancellor's office saved 22% on that weekend. Building 29, 24%. And Building 54, 91%. We weren't quite sure, but it was true. We then took that as the first weekend and went on to Weekend Challenge 2. And again, these results then came up. You can see them on the screen there. Some different buildings came to the fore. Other buildings built on their savings. Estate Office made a late entry, saving 25%. Building 39 increased their savings from 153 to 185 kilowatt hours. And building 54, not content with a mere 91%, pushed it up to 95% by switching off some hot water heaters that I believe, the ones by wash basins that I believe are probably still off, are they, Kerry? Yeah, no one's bothered switching them back on again because they weren't needed. Lovely. I wonder how many others there might be around campus. Then on the third weekend, this was the final sort of big push. And everybody aimed to really excel on this one. Building 39, as you've already heard, increased it yet again to 249 kilowatt hours. PaceLab pushed it up from 129 to 184. Building 83, who saved that 87 with the aircon switch off, pushed it up again or doubled it actually, to 176. And some other worthy mentions down there. Well done to Building 40, Building 240, 46, and Building 54 couldn't find any more savings, saving only 95.8%. So well done. Will habits stick, of course, is the question. It's all very well having a contest, but will they remain afterwards? What we're going to be doing is obviously keep gathering the data and keep seeing how things are performing over time. So we will see, how that sticks. Where we can, we'll upload that onto the website and do that. But the main thing is that you, if you can, keep those habits embedded as much as possible. Make them the norm rather than the exception. As you've heard, the winners are, in terms of total kilowatt hours, Building 39. In total, over those 3 weekends in July, you saved 587 kilowatt hours, which is a fabulous amount. The average house, just to put that in context, will use 11 kilowatt hours a day. Okay, so you're talking, what's that? Maths on the spot. 50 days. 50 days of consumption in an average house. PaceLab 430, Building 83 242, and Building 54 192 kilowatt hours. So overall, congratulations to everybody though, even if you weren't on the sort of winning list. Congratulations to everybody. We've had so many pledges coming in, over 500. Here's a very garish graph that shows how those pledges rose over the contest. So really well done to everybody for going round and getting people to just click on the website and say that they will do their bit, because it really is it's that individual monitor going off, that fan going off, lights going off when people leave the room. That's all adding to the totals. So well done. And we've had over 150 actions documented on the site. 150 times people have come and taken the trouble to write up the actions that they're doing, and those have risen over time on the site. So well done. The challenge now, of course, is how do we deliver those actions, and that's from your point of view. Please keep the pressure on so that we do get them delivered and we don't. Let them lie, as it were. They're all still on your homepage on the website. So if you need to make reference to them, that's there. Finally, as a final sort of parting thought, in terms of next steps, let's just make sure that we maintain these. Let's make it every Friday that we get these things to happen. But secondly, let's ask the question: why just Friday? Because if we can switch it off on a Friday evening, what's wrong with doing it on a Thursday evening as well, and a Wednesday and a Tuesday? Because if you add it up, Monday to Thursday times 15 hours, the 15 hours when we're not here, actually equals another 60 hours of saving potential. So there is the scope to, if that same equipment or whatever it is can be switched off during that period, there is a potential to double these savings if we make that the norm. But that's pretty much all I have to say. But I'd just like to say, just as a closing thought, real congratulations to everybody. There's people talk loosely about behaviour change. Behaviour change actually is what's happening here. It's lots of people doing things differently and making a conscious effort to switch things off. Every time you switch things off, yeah, it is cutting carbon. And the beauty of a place, you know, like Cranfield is it's like an enormous great carbon lever to pull. I mean, you can change all your light bulbs at home, but you can probably take one action here at Cranfield and save more than you'll save in a whole year at home. So thank you very much, and thanks for all your involvement.
That's actually a contents page for a much longer presentation, but I won't inflict that on you because we want to keep this brief, and we've got some refreshments available in a minute. But it does give me the opportunity just to remember to mention one or two other things about what we're doing, about what's actually driving us for this carbon management process. And those three letters at the top are one area that's kept Natalie and myself very busy over the last couple of months, and that's the carbon reduction commitment. Basically, we're having to now account and to be fully audited for our carbon emissions on the basis that the government will now tax us for those emissions as of next year. So we've had to account for them this year. Next year we'll have to do the same again, and they'll charge us £12 for every tonne of carbon emission that results from this campus. So that's just another driver over and above energy prices going up, which William mentioned at the start. I'll come back to the progress we're making against the planned targets in a minute, and also where the competition fits and the contribution that the competitions are making to our carbon savings. Projects, that's just a reminder that the competition isn't just about switching lights off, it's about us getting feedback from yourselves, and that's incredibly important. It helps us prioritise where we can see projects that we can implement. It's one thing identifying that we probably need to change every light bulb on site, but it's helpful to understand where it's going to be easier to do that, because we're not going to do it in one day, like we might be able to at home. William mentioned the Green Gown Awards. It is significant that the university is doing well against its peers. We have been shortlisted for our carbon reduction efforts alongside just half a dozen other universities across the whole of the higher education sector. Funding proposals, again, just a reminder that all the actions that you're suggesting, where that involves capital investment, there is money available. We've got our own pot of money for investing in energy saving, and there are other opportunities out there which I'm busy working on at the moment in terms of putting funding bids in. So any ideas that you've got, please keep them coming forward to us, because there's every chance that we'll be able to get it implemented. So how are we doing? It's quite a complex graph, but the dashed line going upwards is, if you like, business as usual. That's where we're going to end up if we don't do anything, because the university's activities are growing year on year. Our use of energy potentially could grow along with that activity, along with that turnover, and we'd end up with carbon emissions probably 50% higher than they were in 2005. Because what we've actually got to do, and what our plan is trying to implement, is reducing our emissions in 2005 by 50%. And that's what we're trying to aim for by 2020. So if you look at the dashed line coming down, that is our target. And if you see that big arrow, it says CMP, that's when the carbon management plan was written. So we've now had 2 years of trying to implement that plan, and so far, touch wood, we're doing reasonably well. We are exceeding our target along our long road to 2020 to get a 50% saving. So William said we achieved 10% saving last year using 10-10 criteria, which has slightly different boundaries. In our plan, we actually achieved just over 9% for the boundaries that count towards our carbon management plan. We saved over 4% this year. Very hopeful to actually boost that again next year, partly, I'll explain that in a minute, because various projects are going to feed through the savings into next year. So things we've implemented this year, we won't see the savings until next year. And partly because the combined heat and power unit is now working full bore, and we'll see that impact happening next year. So there we are. Our plan is working so far. In terms of where the savings came from this year, it's interesting to note that the biggest number there is the CHP. So we've had 3 or 4 months of the CHP this year, and it has had a big impact. So that's why we're so hopeful we'll be able to achieve much bigger savings next year. The next biggest number there is a negative, and that's growth. That's something that we can't do anything about, well, at least not in the energy team. But that's the university increasing its activities, and as a result, if we did nothing about it, the energy and the carbon emissions would go up. But we are doing something about it. We're implementing projects through the SALIX and the EE projects, energy efficiency projects at the top. And we reckon we've realised at least 300 tonnes of savings this last year through those. The carbon contests, I've put 235 tonnes there. Now, of course, that's largely the winter contest and the knock-on effect of it. The summer contest we've just been through, the knock-on effect of that will actually sort of feed through into the next few months. So we'll see some of those savings next year. There's still some small benefit in terms of Silso shutting down still that we've seen in the last year. And although we had the coldest December in 100 years, we had probably one of the warmest springs. And in effect, if you allow for weather, there's been a slight boost to our savings because of weather factors over the whole year. So there we are. Carbon contests, as you can see, are a significant contributor, or they have been so far. So what are the highlights from the summer contest? Well, we've managed to include 45 buildings, which is more than doubling the amount of buildings we had in the contest in the winter. Obviously, being a summer contest, we thought that we would be focusing on some key issues that we wouldn't have been focusing on in the winter, such as air conditioning and perhaps lights, because we should, in theory, need less lighting in the summer. We had a similar number of carbon champions, and this is something I think we need to address. We seem to find it easier to find the champions last time round. I don't know if that's telling us something, but certainly for some of the buildings it was difficult to find the volunteers, the people prepared to put in the time. That may have been partly our fault in not communicating the need in time. But given the same number of carbon champions as last time, we got a similar number of pledges, just over 500. And we got quite a bit of feedback in terms of suggested actions and actions being taken. Because we didn't have sufficient carbon champions spread across all the buildings, perhaps that's why we didn't make an impact in all the buildings. Just over half, well, around about half the buildings, you could see significant savings. In the other buildings, it was difficult to discern the savings against the background noise. And just to explain how we determined the savings, the baseline wasn't just set on 1 week's performance. It was based on an average of the 4 weeks running up to the contest. And we actually were then able to take into account the fluctuations that you tend to get in different buildings according to their activities. We then based the savings on the savings over and above that fluctuation. If that's not clear, come and talk to me afterwards and I'll explain it. But that gave us a lot more confidence in the savings that were being counted. And in 8 buildings, there was a huge impact, over 10%, and I'll show you in a minute much more than that for 1 or 2 of them. And the overall impact, again, 150 tonnes on an annual basis is very significant for us. So there we go. There's the 20-odd buildings that did make a saving. Obviously, Building 54 is right up there. It's difficult to pick out a pattern here other than clearly the buildings that did better are the ones where there was a carbon champion who was being fairly active. That didn't necessarily always show through in terms of pledges or actions. It might have only been one action, and this building might be a good example of that. Building 38, where the carbon champion insisted that there was little hope of this building achieving anything unless something was done about the air conditioning in this building. Well, that prompted one action, which was to look in depth at the way the air handling system works in this building And that had a huge impact, something like 33% impact, because what we've done, and if you feel yourself feeling a bit drowsy, it's because we have actually reduced the amount of air movements in this building significantly. And that stopped people feeling cold, so it's improved comfort, but it's had a significant impact on the energy as well. So just one action can have a huge impact. But clearly, where there's more people being involved, where there's more people willing to pledge to do something, and more actions being thought, the better the chances of being in the top 10, if you like, on this chart. And it's interesting, it works the other way, unfortunately, doesn't it? Because Building 39 did so well in terms of the weekend shut-offs. But in terms of the percentage saving, because that building is where there's a lot of process load, a lot of experiments going on, you can find yourself in a situation where the energy consumption varies from week to week. So a contest like this perhaps is not a fair judge of the energy savings that are being accrued in that building. And it's interesting that Andrew was able to pick that out by looking at it on a weekend basis. So we are trying to look at the way that the savings are being accrued in different ways, because we recognise that it's not an entirely fair comparison comparing office buildings like the Estates building with something like Whittle building. And we need to recognise the efforts that people are making and show them where they're making an impact. And this is my final slide. I just want to pick out one or two obvious things. It's already been mentioned, immersion heaters, and I've just been spending the morning looking at Vincent building, and I think there might be some issues there that we can find some savings. Switching off PCs and lights, that's the obvious ones. Set points on the air conditioning. It is in our energy policy that we're really not trying to artificially cool buildings below 25 unless we really have to, and yet so much of the aircon on site is still set at set points of 21. So there's some significant savings to be had there. The air handling was one example was this building, and it applies to others as well, building 82, I think. Turning off pumps. And last but not least, this is a summer contest, but we did find situations where people were using electric heaters. Now, I know it's been a cold summer, and certainly some of the air handling systems we've got are part of the problem there, but we've got buildings which were just too cold for people in summer, and that was quite a shock. But that's part of the idea of this contest, is to get this kind of feedback so we can address it, and not just confiscate those electric heaters, but actually address the underlying problem. So, as I say, that's my final slide. Just wanted to give you a flavour, a feedback of how we saw the contest going. It's something that we are still developing. We did have some problems with the data this time in terms of being able to present that to you on a day-by-day basis. We've hopefully got a long way on top of that. We want to repeat the contest again in the autumn. So any feedback that you can give us in the way that you experienced the contest would be very welcome. And it is important to us. Just need to emphasize that. So thank you very much for all your efforts. There are some sandwiches. Are they in the lobby area? Thank you very much, and well done.